The following is a Productions original series.
And away we go. Hello and welcome to Walk and Roll Live from the Aguiar Professional Training Studio.
That's where we are.
Center came to mind for some reason. I'm Doug Vincent, joined by Addie Rich. Our podcast is dedicated to amplifying the voices of the disability community. How you doing? I'm a polio survivor, by the way.
Hi. I have cerebral palsy.
Very nice. Congratulations.
Thanks.
How was your week?
Thank you. No, somebody said, how did that happen? I said, I don't know. Ask the universe.
It's like when somebody says, you know, God, you handle that all so well, you know, or some tragic, you know, event in your life. I didn't have a choice.
Yeah,
know?
I took a spoon and started eating.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah. Exactly. So you got back from your business trip, had a week to kind of, you know, recuperate, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Need to get my feet back on the ground, figure out which way's left, which way's right, and all that good stuff. You know, decompress from so much peopling.
Yeah.
This last weekend has felt like the decompression time where you could like actually rest, because I think you're on the adrenaline of of living off of seeing people and drinking and running around and having fun, and then you're still hyped up trying to get home with all that Jacksonville parking garage issues, which I don't remember if I said, but when I was trying to get home, a Cybertruck blew up in the short-term parking garage, which then caused two other cars to blow up, which then caught like the whole floor on fire, and then part of the parking garage fell. So the airport like suddenly closes about 30 minutes before I'm supposed to load my plane, and nobody knows what the heck's going on. And, you know, through the grapevine, we eventually figure out that this issue's happened in the parking garage and stuff. But all we see in terminal sides is that all the boards go red, and in white writing it says the airport is now closed. And then somebody comes on the loudspeaker and says, all airspace, all landing and taking off has been ceased for now. There's been an emergency.
So they're making sure it's not some kind of an attack.
Yeah, I literally honestly was thinking it was like some attack or whatever. And then like 2 hours later, they come on and say FAA regulation is there has to be fire equipment, like a fire brigade on runway if there's anything coming in or going out. And because they were tending to the explosion and fire over there, there was nobody available. So they had to bring another crew from another airport to cover.
Sense. Yeah.
So that's why they covered everything. But of course, for us in the terminal, I'm like literally waiting to see if somebody's going to run through with a gun, or is it a bomb? Like nobody knew that a truck had blown up from its battery. They thought it was a bomb as well.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that was a lot of adrenaline for a Friday.
Yeah. Did you? So, I mean, obviously you got out of there, but so you just waited the 2 hours and then your flight
it ended
resumed?
up being, I got home I took off 6 hours later than I was supposed to.
Okay.
Because everybody got delayed, and it wasn't like one airline closed. Every airline closed. So if you wanted to see an anthill explode, just go to that airport that day. And I mean, they were like, you can reschedule for the next day, but you're not allowed to enter or exit the airport like via car. So you have to walk 1.5 miles past the airport to be picked up by an Uber. I was like, yep, well, that just shot me right out of the,
Yeah.
So I guess I'm here till I'm here.
Welcome back. Well, nice to have a 3-day weekend to kind of relax a little bit. Did you have a good Memorial Day? All that.
Throw the alarm clock against the wall and stay in bed a little bit longer. So it's been good. But you had a good week?
Yeah. And, do want to just make sure that we pay tribute to those fine gentlemen and women that served and gave all for our country.
For sure.
Freedoms and all that. Yeah. So.
Yep, we have the lives we do because they choose to give theirs.
Yeah.
So.
And we had, I had a great week. Just a lot of things that just were wonderful. Went to the IEDC meeting. That's the Inland Empire Disability Collaborative. They do it once a month, and they had a nice presentation on mental health and met a few people, as I always do. That's why I love going to it. I always meet, because it's a collaboration of people that offer services, programs for the
Okay.
disabled community. Yeah. So,
Cool.
so there was a couple of people that were there that I touched base with because they
Nice.
fit into a couple of things we've been working on here. You know, the whole thing with Brian
yeah.
Bushway, with the interpersonal relationships with the disabled. There was a gal that just said, we train people with disabilities on that. I'm like, huh?
That's amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
we need to find them too.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. And then somebody else about caregivers, you know, and I wanted to do an
Awesome.
episode on caregivers. Keep talking about it, but, you know, these are the things you're looking for the right people to put together kind of a
Right,
panel.
right.
Yeah, so,
It stays as an idea in your head until you can like actually create a tunnel to the right resource.
yeah. So a couple of pieces have fallen into place, so that's good. The conference is coming in June. If you're around Southern California, I believe it's free of charge. If you go to our website, go to the events page, you can click through and register. That's all they ask you to do is register, so they know
Nice.
how many, you know, finger sandwiches they have and all that stuff. So,
How many sodas to have in the basket?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
made the possibilities mixer, connected with a few people there as well, and also Rolling Start went to the wheelchair support group was this past week.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Some people they're starting to intermingle between different groups. We're inviting them to come.
Right.
And, yeah. So
That's cool. That's
Jen
cool.
was there.
We're building a net.
Yeah, and Jen was there.
Oh, cool.
You know, because we
Okay.
met her through the possibilities, so she came to the wheelchair support group. Yeah, there we go. And and then I went to an event on Saturday. I thought it was a yearly event that Triumph puts on called the Push to the Pier in Long Beach. So I thought,
Yeah, I saw some pictures that
Yeah.
somebody sent me.
So I'm thinking, I'm gonna go to the beach. Well, whatever else happens, I'll be at the beach. It's good. So
Yeah.
and it started off, you know, I left the house and it was very dark here and looking darker the direction I was going.
Yeah.
But kind of went through that darkness, I guess, and got to the other side. And the sun came out fairly quickly. Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful day. So it's a push just down the path. You know, they have a bike path
Yes.
and a running path there in Long Beach, and push for, they went, it was going to be 2 miles. I think it was going to, a mile down and a mile back.
Okay.
And I got about halfway and
Yeah.
and turned around and came back with some of the
Your
other people.
shoulder said no.
Well, you know, they didn't say no. The thing was it felt really good. The
Yeah.
pushing was no problem. But I know, you know, part of it is I don't do a whole lot to kind of save my shoulders.
Right.
And I just know what I'm going to feel like, you know, the next day, you know.
Dookie bells. Yes.
Yeah. So it didn't wait till the next day. By the time I got home, I was getting kind of stiff and, you know, took
Yeah.
some preemptive, you know, ibuprofen, that kind of thing.
Right,
So,
right.
so it only lasted a couple of days. And it wasn't horrible, but it kind of got me to thinking about, you know, part of that reason is because of my post-polio syndrome. Mm-hmm. And if anybody has dealt with that, I kind of did a little bit of a deep dive in that and kind of researched it. And there's a blog that I have resurrected. Some of the posts on there go back to 2011 if you want to read those for fun. But, yeah, but I put a post up there about post-polio syndrome, and you can find that. It's called Disability Voice is what I'm calling the blog.
Cool.
So it's a page on our website. You can check that out. and
He's
watch
so
for a
smart, people. He's so smart.
But I also found out they're doing this once a month.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm
That's
definitely
awesome.
going back. Yeah, it was a beautiful, beautiful day.
Yeah. I miss the beach so bad you don't even know.
Yeah.
Those are moments like now we have the little dog pool out on the deck because it's so hot, and I was like, I want water for a holiday. But those are the moments that I'm like, I mean, I don't love sand, but I miss beachiness.
Yes.
Even the noise, like the noise just is a favorite place for my brain.
All
You
right.
can find me for the 2 weeks I'm in California at least once at the beach.
Very
at
nice.
the beach and at Jack in the Box. If you can't find me, look at those two places.
Well, Long Beach, very nice. Very nice in that Bayshore Park. is
Okay,
where we went.
cool.
Yeah, very nice. So it was nice to kind of connect with some of the other people. You know, I'm looking around the group and they've been on the show. They've been on the show. They've been on the show. They're going to be on the show. They're going to be
Yeah,
on the
right?
show.
Doug minds the people he knows.
Yeah.
But hey, it's done great things.
Yeah, and they're great supporters. I love them. So thank you to Atif Moon, our guest from last week, the The baby born with spinal cancer.
Yeah.
Oh, what an incredible story.
And now the man with an incredible story.
Yeah, and slowed down one bit. So thank you, Atif, for coming on. And coming up today, we've got an interview with, it's called Roll Mobility. It is an app that will help all of us, if you're disabled, kind of get around and get to know about a venue. I won't give too much away. We're going to take a break, and we'll come back with our interview with them in just a moment. And that is thanks to Ugyar Professional Training.
At Ugyar Professional Training, we know that your greatest asset is your team. Investing in their development, knowledge, and happiness is essential for your business's success and growth. To achieve new heights, it's important to hire intelligent, talented individuals and empower them to excel in their areas of strength and passion. Ugyar is committed to transforming your employees into happier, more productive, and fulfilled individuals. When your team thrives, your business prospers. Wise leaders understand that providing team members with opportunities to shine in their strengths unlocks untapped potential. Elevate your team with Ugyar Professional Training and witness the growth of your business.
From the Ugyar Professional Training Studios, you're listening to Walk and Roll Live, Disability Stories.
Healing starts to play its part. In this journey we unite, shining with a glowing light. Insight found in every voice. Together we make.
Welcome back to Walk and Roll Live. Let's start with an introduction of our guest for this week. I'm Doug, of course. Addie is here. And our guests this week are...
I'm Joe Foster. I live in Golden, Colorado. And I am one of the founders of Roll Mobility.
And Rachel Zoller.
I'm based in Louisville, Kentucky, and a co-founder of the app. I've been a wheelchair user for about 5 years.
Very nice. Very nice. So, Colorado, Louisville, very nice. Am I saying it right? I know when I was there were signs all over the place on how to pronounce it.
Yeah, what's your best guess?
Well, I like Louisville. And more of a vol, right? Than a Louisville. Yeah.
But both would be correct.
Okay, good. You know
I'll
what I'm
take
talking
either.
about, right?
Same place.
So yeah, I follow you guys on Instagram, and it's interesting, kind of keeping up with what the app is all about. And it's great to have you guys on. Thank you, so you can explain it and we can hear it right from the founders. So, first I want to ask, where did this idea kind of come? Where was the seed that you guys kind of maybe had an aha moment? We need this in the community.
Thank you. And for those who don't know, Roll Mobility is an app. We're a mapping app that aims to have people understand and know what they are getting into before they arrive at a location. So I was lucky enough to work with the U.S. Paralympics, and we were in a small town in Colorado called Breckenridge, a little ski town. And we were working with some athletes that had varied mobility issues, and we tried to take them out to dinner. And we were patting ourselves on the back. We thought we'd done such a good job because we called ahead and we asked these locations, which place would be the most accessible in this little ski town. And we chose a place that had an elevator to get down to the bathroom. And as most people know that already have mobility issues, we arrived there to find that there were 3 giant steps to get inside. And thankfully we were with some people that were a little bit more mobile, and we made it work, and we worked with the athletes to get them inside, and we sat down to dinner. And I just thought, but this never happens to you in a bigger city, or this never happens to you, when you're not in a little new place. You always know where you can go and those kinds of things. And they just laughed at my naivete. They said, no, this is every single time that we go to a new location, we've got to try to figure out whether or not that place is accessible and whether or not we can even get inside. And we tried to use the bathroom to see if the bathroom was accessible. And the elevator had been built sometime in the 60s and was so small that none of the athletes actually fit into the elevator to get down to the bathroom. So I got back and had a good friend that was a web developer and an app developer. And we got together and kind of sketched up an idea for a mapping app where people who knew better could leave long-standing information about these locations and would be able to tell the next person, hey, by the way, you can call this place. They'll tell you they're accessible, but really they're going to send you through the kitchen, or the elevator's too small, or actually there's 2 steps to get inside. So we're kind of in this really neat confluence of technology has improved enough to make this available for people, and just in the right place at the right time. And thankfully, I've been able to find people much smarter than I am, like Rachel, who have really helped define the app and continue to improve it.
Excellent. You know, you bring up a point that, you know, that whole thing with going through the kitchen or something like that, you get to a place where you accept that, you know, and I just think there needs to be more conversation that we can do better, and let's make some improvements. You know, not the people in this room, but, you know, those people that, you know, have businesses and whatnot. You know, sure, we can get in, but, you know, what if all your customers had to come in through the kitchen?
For us, the other really neat thing that happened, and Rachel can speak to this as well, is you come in with a community, or you come in and run an event, go to a mountain bike clinic, go to an adaptive program, and people figure out very quickly which restaurants are accessible, which bathrooms in the hotel are accessible, where they can go, where isn't working. And that was one of the core tenets of the app was, now there is the opportunity for that information to live in a place in perpetuity. So if you go to a new location with your family, there's already been people there that have gone through these things. And that way it just makes your experience so much easier. Mm-hmm. We talk about, you know, I think the Spoonies talk about having their spoons for the day. We'd always talked about matches. You've got a finite number of matches to burn for the day. And some places, you know, you're willing to go through the kitchen to eat there, and you're willing to try to figure out how to make it up one step. But knowing before you get there is really what we're about.
The accessibility is one point, awesome. But then, you know, just the awareness, you know, because I've been in those situations where, you know, I get a accessible seat, say at a ballpark, and I get there and there's steps, you know, and when you point that out, you know, the person will say, well, there's only one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You're not getting it, I don't think. I don't know if there's a chronology in asking all these, but I'm wondering, so when you're a user of the app, say, you pin a location and then you can also write a little narrative about what the issue is. Is that how it works?
Yeah. So when you are in the vicinity of your location, you can either type the name of it, or it might just go ahead and auto-populate if a review already exists for that space.
Oh, okay.
Then the app takes you through a series of weighted questions, and based on the absence or presence of key accessibility features, and then calculates a weighted score. It was really important to us to move away from a subjective, how was my accessible experience, versus can we give people the information that they need to know, the objective points to say, yes, this works for me, or no, this doesn't
work for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and then the point about that, and you just touched on, is like that awareness piece. You know, for many of us, maybe we're the only disabled people in, like for my friends and family, I'm the first experience that they've really had with that. And my proximity to them has given them a lot of awareness, but we want to go, I want to go bigger than just touch point, right? We wanted people to use our app as a tool for awareness. We want to call people in without disabilities and use this as an educational tool.
And well, you were saying earlier about the matches and spoonies and things. It's for those of us with anxiety who are also different. It's really good to have an app that it's like, I don't have to announce to other people that I'm nervous about this place. I can go look it up and say like, can I do this? And like sort of cut that edge off without having to already like ostracize myself in a new way, right? Because I'm already anxious to probably be amongst the people. So now I don't have to consider I'm in a new place and I'm asking for an accommodation when I just want to hit the wall and be there, you know?
Totally. You know, my wife and I went to a drag show last Friday night at a venue I had been to as an able-bodied person, but had not yet been to in a wheelchair. And because I knew it was going to be crowded towards the end of the night, there's some sections with tables that you plan ahead and you get a table ahead of time. You can have that space around you, and moving forward, that would be something I would recommend. But navigating crowds as a person with a disability, especially in maybe like an energized and intoxicated crowd, can be really overwhelming and anxiety producing. And so we got there really early, a couple hours before the show when the doors first opened, to be able to talk to the staff and say, hey, I really wanted to scope this out. Where do you think is the best area for me to sit? Getting all these like little bits of information that you can't always capture, even with our own scale, right? That I want to collect all of this information. Because in a month we're going back and we're going with a group of friends that'll be in from out of town. So we were able to kind of really have that face-to-face interaction, get that information. Oh, we'll call ahead. I want this specific table that's close to the bathroom that gives me space from the crowd. But that was a lot of work, of pre-work, right?
Yeah.
Now I've done that. And now, you know, Eddie, you're coming to visit Louisville and you want to go. Yeah, I've got all that information there, and I've typed all that little bit part that can't be caught in a yes or no review. I can give you all those tips and tricks.
Right, for sure.
The other thing that was really important to us with the app is that you could show people, and like Rachel said, we really wanted to pull in people outside of the community and make them feel comfortable leaving reviews. We know that, you know, as a wheelchair user, especially as a power wheelchair user, especially, it's really difficult to go new places. And so that's part of the reason why our tagline is go further together. As a group and as a coordinated group of people who understand that this is important, we really wanted to make it as easy as possible for anybody at all to leave good data. And I shouldn't say recently, it's been almost a year, have the ability to leave picture and video of those spaces. So you can leave not only objective questions, narrative, but then also picture and video of that space.
So it's been online about a year now. The app's been available, or longer? 2 years.
Picture and video have been available for about a year.
Newer options.
So I'm rewinding you guys though.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to jump all over the place.
I'm curious how you two became intertwined with each other, because you, Joseph, were saying you did this thing in Breckenridge and then, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wait, but how does Rachel show up? So rewind. Rachel, how do you show up?
Enter me, adaptive athlete. After my injury, my wife and I relocated to Colorado because Colorado is just kind of a mecca for folks with disabilities. It's got not only great resources as far as, healthcare and care benefits, but also every mountain in Colorado has their own adaptive program. And it was important to me to learn how to ski again, to learn how to mountain bike. And that's where Joe and I became friends. And we hit it off. We have a lot of things in common, like our favorite show, Avatar: The Last Airbender, and the fact that we were both physical therapists.
Okay.
So we became buddies after the first day we met. Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome.
And he said, hey, I have an idea for this thing. And you said, hold on, let me tell you. Let me help you.
Yes, exactly just like that.
Nice.
Yeah. We joke that we sometimes share a brain, and it's funny because with the rest of the people on the team, Rachel and I will be having a conversation about something that we envision or something that we think it should do or or some new feature that we're trying to roll out. And the two of us will look at each other and we'll, we've got it. We've got it right there. We know exactly what we're talking about. And then everybody else in the room is looking around like, what? What?
How did they get that?
No sense.
Like, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What language just came through the telepathy that, confused everybody else? Yeah. Totally have a friend like that. I totally understand.
Yes.
It's fun to mess with people.
So multiple people, I guess, can leave a review about a particular restaurant, and I'm saying restaurant, but that's another question I want to get to is, there's so many places that we all go. Of course, we think of venues and restaurants and things like that, but just going into a clothing store, I've had the experience that everything is so close together that you can't even get between the racks of clothes.
That is one of the questions that we added. When we started doing this process, we put together a set of questions that we had already previously talked to people, and we had focus groups, and we talked to multiple people about what questions they thought were important, and we had thought that we'd done a good job. And then you have somebody that, you've never talked to before download the app that's across the country, and they email you and they say, hey, we really think this question would be good. And you just kind of scratch your head and go, how did we miss that? For anybody that is listening, please continue to send us feedback. It is really valuable to us. The new features that are coming in the app have really come from the community, and we value your opinions and your feedback so much, because there are things that make sense to us since we've been living and breathing the app for 3 years, that if you don't get when you first open the app, that means we've done a bad job. But one of the things that happened rather quickly was we revitalized and revamped all of those questions again. And then also we wound up switching mapping providers, because we realized that the mapping provider that we were using was not accurately capturing rural areas at all. So people would go in, they'd search a location, and that location just wouldn't show up, which was the exact opposite of how it was supposed to work out. But we've since moved to a rather large mapping provider that rhymes with Schmoogle. And so if you can find it in that app, you can find it in our app. But we do have different question sets for different locations, and that is one of the questions: is how wide are these areas?
Well, it wouldn't be so hard on yourselves. I'm sure developing this app, there were
what sounds
millions
like an
of
idea
questions.
becomes a monumental.
Yeah. So if you missed a few, I think we'll cut you some slack.
Questions on there, but people aren't going to answer that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
They get tired halfway through and not use it. So how do you?
They're at question 75, and they're like, I'm just trying to get ice cream, people.
Exactly. We had a video go viral last spring, and we experienced worldwide user growth, essentially in like a 2-week period.
Yeah.
This was also the time we realized the mapping server was failing us because it worked okay in the US, but outside of the US wasn't working at all. And I think that's a thing, we will have to continue with different iterations of the app, is capturing nuance in different cultures and languages worldwide.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right? So we are US based, but you can use the app worldwide, and hopefully get some international list users that want to give us that good feedback that says it doesn't quite translate into German. Let's try that. Yeah.
Dutch. They're like, what?
What?
We're already in Spanish and English, and we're currently working on expanding languages for the top. I think we looked at the top 11 languages in the world, but we're already in Spanish and English, and we're in over 140 countries now. There's reviews in over 140 countries.
Amazing.
Wow. Well, this topic kind of brought some things to mind. Is, in America, as many challenges as we may have in this area, we're probably ahead of most other countries. I haven't traveled a lot, but, just from the people I've talked to, some of these cultures are hundreds, many hundreds of years old, and and we're relatively new. We're only been around 100 years. Have the ADA, a lot of new building going on, so all those things are kind of baked into new places, and I'm sure in the East, where the places have been around longer. I mean, I'm sure that's more of a challenge. So I say all that to say, so you go to a foreign country, this must be very helpful for people that are traveling.
Certainly. But I think, to your point, yes and no. Yeah. Right. There are certainly old structures that exist, but they've also made, ancient monuments accessible. Right.
Good.
And in Athens, the Parthenon is now, the Acropolis has been made accessible. So there are places out there that are doing it. There's also countries that invest a bit more in infrastructure than we do in the United States, and public transit is a huge thing for accessibility right here in the US. We're so car reliant. And having a car that's adapted if you have a disability, these are all barriers to access. Yeah. So I think it really,
sure. We talk about that a lot because I can't drive. So we talk about Uber and Lyft and Instacart and Walmart Plus, all those things that have made me independent, that before it was always trying to negotiate, how do I get where I need to be or get what I need to have without feeling like a constant burden. So technology and opportunity and accessibility are all
we were talking about this yesterday, is even if you can drive, the barriers to get hand control, and I'm kind of behind the curve. I when I got mine the last time, it was $1,000 for hand controls, $1,000 to install them. Somebody updated me yesterday for all of that. Now it's more like $3,300. One of the things too, talking about a clothing store, is for myself, and I imagine this is the same with a lot of people who are wheelchair users, is going into a dressing room at a store. Do we have questions about that, whether it's accessible or usable? Yeah.
We do. That was one of those questions that we thought we were being smart when we added it. And then, of course, we had somebody who reached back out and said, hey, the retail location that I am going to does not have a dressing room, but I see that, because we automatically calculate those green, yellow, or red rating based on how you answer the question so that people can't go in. One of the experiences that I always think about in this is we had a gentleman who said, well, I didn't like that this place was listed as inaccessible because there's only 2 steps to get inside. You've heard that before.
Yeah.
It's like, even 1 step, if you're in a power wheelchair, makes a place inaccessible if there isn't a ramp. And so we calculate those scores for you. But we did then revamp questions so that you could say that this place does not have a dressing room or does not have, does not need an elevator because it does not have a second floor.
Yeah.
But it is really difficult to try to capture the nuance between people's injuries as well. We really have a lot of respect for every person who has an injury or who has, a congenital disability that they were born with, presents in a different way. It is different for them. And so we really try to paint things with broad strokes and just give people we just feel like information is king, and it's, you get to decide then what you're willing to put up with and how much you're willing to do.
I think that's smart. We talk about it all the time here, how different we all are, even if you have the same diagnosis, or you appear, visually you look the same, but we're all so different.
We don't all know each other just because our diagnosis label is the same.
That's right.
No, I have never met them. No. Yeah, right? Haven't you met each other? Didn't you know? No.
My friend at a urologist appointment this week.
Oh, yeah?
Really?
Yeah.
The weirdest places, right? Like, we're fully accessible and approachable with the weirdest stuff because we're different.
So I don't know if this will work here with just the audio only, but maybe you could just, if you could walk us through the experience of using the app. Say you've got the app for the first time now, you're going, come up with maybe some scenario that's fairly typical and how you would be a user of the app.
So I think the first step, of course, is download the app.
After downloading the app, You can view existing reviews that without creating an account. You can use the app and you can see what information already exists from inside of it. But if you want to leave a review, you'll need to create an account.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
So then there's a search bar up top. And when you're in a location, or maybe for me, it's kind of after the fact that I think to leave a review because my hands are always busy.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right. You're not like, hold on, let me go make a review.
Yeah, my wife is really good. She's like, let's leave it right now. I'm like, oh, my hands are tied.
I can't.
Pushing this damn chair.
Exactly. All the time, everywhere I go. And it has a drop down. It has a separate set of questions for the building itself. And then the bathroom is weighted separately. So you can see on the app that we've kind of got we call it our Pokeball, and it's got like a top and a bottom. And we rate those separately because not all places have a public restroom. So we don't want them to be penalized for that. Or maybe you're at a place you didn't use the restroom, or you're only at a place with a restroom.
Right. You rolled in because you had to go. Yeah.
Exactly. You didn't look at the rest, but you like, hey, you're out at this festival. I want you to know about this accessible toilet. That's first and foremost for so many of us, right?
Right.
So it just takes you through about 10 questions on the top half, 5 on the bottom, and then gives you the ability to write a narrative and or add video and picture, and then you submit it.
Nice.
But we did just launch we are in the process of launching a new feature that hopefully entices people to continue to leave more reviews. That gives your world ranking for how many reviews you've left worldwide.
Oh, fun.
And the ability to have some, to compete within the app. So we'll have that. We have that coming as soon as this week.
Oh,
nice. Humans like to compete. They're like, oh, wait, I can earn something.
Joe said earlier this week, he was like, we have it in test flight and we're playing with it before it goes out. He's like, and then I saw my numbers go up and then I interacted with your post and I got more numbers and I was like, I'm going to keep interacting.
Yeah. It's like Duolingo, right? That's why people do Duolingo because, or similar, right? They're like, I want points today.
So
hour alive.
Are you telling me we have a scoop here? Has this new feature been introduced anywhere else?
Not yet. It's
our first scoop.
Your first scoop. Yeah.
Awesome.
So we're excited for that to go out. We've had a number of different groups have come to us with it just kind of like we get feedback on questions and from the community. People will come to us and be like, we want to use this tool this way. And we're like, that's really neat. I never would have thought of that on my own. Yeah. It's just this really cool thing that people are discovering how they want to use it.
Kind of crowdsourcing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Neat.
How have business owners in the actual, businesses and venues and restaurants, everything, what's their feedback been like?
It's a little all over the place, like it is in person, right? You can have a conversation with the business owner and you're like, if you could just do A, B, and C, this place would be so much more accessible to me. And they're like, wow, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Or sometimes, you could say those exact same things to the other person and they're just put up the wall.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Or they just ignore you. Yeah.
Or they ignore you. But we hope with its continued popularity and knowing that if the numbers speak for themselves, right? I think it's like $1.9 trillion of buying power worldwide the disabled community and their friends and family have. It's good. Accessibility, inclusion are good for business.
Yeah. I've said that many times now since I learned that on this podcast. And I hope the word gets out because nothing talks like money.
Yeah, right? I had a video on TikTok the other week and it was about low cost, no cost solutions on a patio. Like they had a table that was blocking the sidewalk and then the door opened into the table. So you had to come off the curb to go up, to go in. And we had a business owner reply and just said, if I were this business owner, I would have called a contractor. I would have given you a free meal, had a contractor, fix these things, invited you back down to test it all out and give you another free meal. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes ignorance is just not chosen, right? Like they just don't know.
Yeah. We really don't.
Yeah. They don't experience it. They don't know.
They don't know. And we say that all the time. Like we really aren't in the business of shame game.
Right.
We really, it's like know better, do better.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's one thing. Every time I approach any business that I'm at about some little adjustment that they can make, I'm always respectful. Hey, just want to let you know, I'm not, I'm not saying I'm going to sue them or anything like that. But but it would be nice if they would start to get it a little more, and roll-in showers. It's come up recently. I've traveled and talking to some other friends who've been traveling recently. And you go, and it's great. You get there's only like usually one or two in a hotel. So you feel like you've won the lottery when you get one. And then you go in there and it's not really usable because the seat is at the opposite end of the shower head. I'm sure you've run into this. So, Yeah.
Like, great.
Everybody
what am I supposed to do with that?
With that. Yeah.
How is this going to work? No, Doug, you said travel and you totally made me think like, oh my goodness, because when he went on his cruise, I was like, dude, you should put like cruise ships and hotels and like things on this Roll Mobility. So when people are booking, they can go to your little app and say, hey, this travel provider is good to me.
Yeah, definitely. And we have, some stacks of questions like sitting in the wings that we have not yet had the opportunity to kind of roll in, because it's like, if we try to be all things to all places and all people all at once, it's like we just need to, refine what we're doing, do it well, and layer it in. But we are really working quickly to add in sensory features. That's probably the next, that and locations for universal size changing tables. Our base has been loud and consistent. These are the things they want to see in the app, and we're doing our best as a small team that does this unfunded, all part-time, to get that out as fast as we can.
Driven by passion, not by time. Yeah.
Exactly.
So what has the feedback been from users? Everything pretty positive? And
yeah, we have people that love it. Again, like we just said, it's a little bit of everything. People who love to complain. You can't make everybody happy,
human
but
nature,
more than not, we have just great success that's just validated everything that we're doing. People love it. They love the idea. They come to us with could it do this next? We have some super users all over the world that have we have one super user in Stockholm, Sweden, that has essentially mapped all of Stockholm. Just like, that's awesome. And so when I'm thinking like, I want to plan a trip, I want to go abroad, I don't really know where to start. This person has already mapped this entire city. Wow. So so it's just been great. People are come to us with great feedback all the time.
I've had a mind shift over the last few years that when people are complaining, I look at it as they're just passionate about something. Indifference, if they weren't complaining, they didn't care about your product. And if you had a product nobody cared about, you wouldn't have a product very long, right? So you have to kind of listen to that complaining in a different way. Yeah.
At the end of the day, we want to be heard.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So any one incident that kind of stands out where somebody's used it in a particular way and it was kind of a special story?
I know Rachel probably has their own, but I know for me, we wound up talking to a woman that said, my daughter has a physical disability and we have had a really difficult time getting out. And this has given me not only a reason to go new places and map them so that we can help other people get out and do more, but also really remove some barriers for us to get out. And that's been really powerful to hear how people have adopted it and made it their own.
So it's kind of gone from
Rachel, do you have
theoretical to now starting to hear some real world stories? Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
And Rachel,
do you have a specific?
I'll probably think of the perfect example as soon as we log off of this call. No, but we one of the more interesting ways that we have in the wake of different like climate disasters and other natural disasters, be it fires or floods, that Joe and I thought would be an interesting and neat and helpful way for users to be utilizing the app because you can add pictures and videos to a map outside of a review. It doesn't have to be attached. It's called a snapshot. And so no matter where you are, if you're walking, Doug, down a sidewalk and it's out for, maybe it's out because of a flood, or it's out because of repair. You can leave a real-time photograph or video right to the map and give that information to somebody. So we thought, like, wow, wouldn't this be, I think about, especially with the Asheville floods in the fall, I think about how vulnerable, of course, we are as a disabled community for so many reasons, but in the wake of natural disaster, about us being left behind. And we know in society that it's always been us taking care of us, and fighting for our rights and our visibility. And this is no different. It's going to continue to be that way. So wouldn't it be cool if there were a tool that we could use in that manner to share and exchange information with each other, in a way that can respond to permanent and impermanent changes?
Yeah. I think you just answered my next question, which I was going to ask about, how you think this is impacting awareness, first of all, and then beyond awareness, some actual change, in the landscape out there for accessibility.
One of the neatest things I think has been seeing people respond to, especially the Instagram, where when we do things like post a picture of a bathroom and say, what is the inaccessible thing here? And watching people that maybe don't understand that if the trash can has a push button, it makes it inaccessible. I'm going to throw my paper towel after I wash my hands on the floor because I can't hit that push button without probably knocking over the trash can, if not worse. And we've seen people respond to that and say, hey, that's something actionable that I can fix tomorrow. I will go to the store. I will buy an accessible trash can for my bar.
And I guess it kind of tied in with that, our friends without disabilities are how can they be an ally in this whole endeavor?
Downloading the app and starting to use it. And also to be a voice when you see something that doesn't work. It's not only expensive to be disabled, it's exhausting. I'm tired. I don't want to take the time to go have this one more conversation that the doors at the gym are just too heavy. I'm tired today. I just want to do my workout and I want to get in and get out. But to have somebody else who could just step in and go have that conversation for me.
Yeah.
Hey, I just saw this person with a wheelchair really struggling with these. Is there something that we could do about that? That's
one that happens quite a bit. And I don't think people get it, even when you say something, this isn't ADA compliant, it's more than 5 pounds. So they're like, what are you saying to me? So that's where the awareness comes in, right?
That's one of those things I think it's such a good case in point. Maybe it didn't register to them, but they were like, you know what? That door was heavy. It was heavy for me. If it was heavy for me,
yeah,
sure, it was heavy for you.
Yeah, with wheels.
Right. With trying to, how do you not run into it and then go backwards and then not let, it's a clown car most of the time.
I think I have a question for each of you that have, different experiences, life experiences, disabilities, how you've seen and what your experience has been over time in changing through awareness and accessibility and even just like awareness at large.
Well, you've got a couple of OGs here, Addie she has CP, so she came into the world.
I was.
Right. And I was a year old when I got polio, so that tells you, there's vaccination came out in 56. So that'll tell you how long ago that was, so I predate handicap placards, in spots and places to park and all of those things. So yeah, there's been a lot of improvements over the years.
Lived it, right?
Yeah.
You've lived every version of it, I think.
Yeah. But I think that's how it kind of informs me today. It's just been my mindset that I've had to adapt my whole life. As soon as you started to ask that question, I worked in a building for 24 years. And some 15 plus years in, they put a door that slid open when you walked up to it. And I just remember thinking, well, that would have been nice 15 years ago. Why did I think of it? Because I just don't think of those kinds of things that I've just my whole life has, have had to deal with all those, I don't even want to say deal with, really. And again, maybe that's my mindset too, that I just, it's just part of life. But yes, we could make it a lot easier for us. Yeah.
I think I'll see that conversation in our comments on social media pretty often. And each and every person is entitled to their own opinion and their own experience with disability and the way that they choose to interact with the world. But should we have to?
Yeah.
Is where that conversation always comes back to. It's like, yeah, well, you just deal with it. I learned to deal with it.
Yeah.
I learned to just go on about my day. But should we have to? In a world where we have just ever exchange, like technology changing so quickly, and the capability in the mind, should we have to anymore? And I think we all know the answer to that.
Yes. And there's so many very simple fixes for a lot of things.
Level of weighted importance if you don't deal with it yourself. I'll get to it tomorrow if I don't have to worry about it personally. Except it's our own tomorrow every day. And a new place to see it and a different face to talk to about it. And,
most of the solutions are work for everybody. If you put a ramp in instead of stairs, it's like there's not going to be somebody standing around going, I can't get up there. Where are the stairs? So,
right.
I mean, that's the most obvious one, but and as I'm thinking about this too, this would be a nice tool for, if you have friends or family coming into town who are disabled, you can kind of do a little research and find some good places to go that, are going to be accessible for your loved ones.
You can get the cool points.
Yeah.
I wonder how.
Do the work ahead of time.
Yeah.
For sure.
Anything that you've got on the horizon that you're thinking about? Imagine what this can be. Some things that are kind of going around in there going, wonder if we could do this.
Well, Joe, while you glitched, we did briefly talk about our teaser for the week.
We determined that humans like things that they can compete in. So that's a very good ad for those that are kind of like, man, do I need this app? Their competition kicks in and they say, yes, I do.
Use that human nature to your advantage.
Exactly.
Yes, definitely. And it is neat to see. I was leaving reviews as part of a project that we were working on, and I'm not above seeing myself go up on the global leaderboard by like 5 places by leaving a bunch of reviews. I was like, oh yeah, okay, I'm watching my points go up.
Look at me. Yeah, neat.
Yeah, definitely.
I think once we kind of, move past this iteration, kind of, we talked briefly about bringing in right now where the app is really centric to folks with physical disabilities, really trying to become a more encompassing place to all disabilities, is to continue to just grow our community. Right. And that's so important to have a place where a one-stop shop where we can essentially be the yellow pages, where we're sharing events, we're sharing we're sharing equipment in our local community. I had a brake just go out. Does anybody have a wheel lock? Because I can't get one for 6 months if I go through the channels, really bringing that together. That's something when we were in Colorado that I really experienced, because there are so many young, active folks in the disabled community there, that it was just so easy to share and exchange information. But now that, like 1 in 8 folks with a mobility impairment, or 1 in 4 with any kind of disability, that doesn't just exist in Colorado, that exists everywhere. So no matter where your community is, you should have access to those resources. So I think that would be where I'd love to see us be able to continue to grow.
Oh, that would be amazing. It's kind of, Doug, how we were talking about. So one of our guests, this week was a perfect step, and that's the gym that, works on that kind of, health and not just physical therapy, that it's like a more gym environment. And I was thinking, gosh, I wish there was one in Atlanta. So, it would be awesome if, like as your app grows, you have these things. Hey, you're looking for a gym and you're in Atlanta. Here's ones that will be able to help somebody with CP, this resource or that resource, or you want to go here. That's exciting that it would be a place that we can Google it through the app and find what we're actually looking for, more tailored to our community, right?
Maybe in a place too where people feel safe to ask questions that they want to ask.
Yeah, you kind of find out in the community, there are a lot of things that are alike, though, even though there are all those differences. Oh, you do that too. Oh, you experience, so some of those aha moments. Yeah, Joe.
I was just going to say, and you're asking people that actually get it. Yeah. You're not asking a hostess that doesn't understand that 4 steps to get in makes a place inaccessible. So when you ask for a gym, hopefully you get to talk to somebody that actually has been to that gym, knows what it's like to experience it, and has gone through it already and vetted it for you.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sorry, Rachel, any collaboration with like local governments and how they can improve the flow and the process?
We did just have a meeting this week. The Denver local government is doing a project called Good Access is Good Business. I don't even know if I'm supposed to be talking about it, but they've had it around for a while and they're kind of revitalizing it and bringing it back through. And then we do have some ties to the Boulder local government is also working on, they're calling it Project Zero to make all areas in the town accessible. So we'd be open to talking. And if anybody is listening, we'd be open to talking to anybody and learning more.
Very good. Very good.
Tourism boards are quick to be, because tourism boards get it. They get the numbers.
Yeah.
A little more bureaucracy from the government side, though. All public spaces certainly should be. We've had 35 years now to get on board that we should be there. But it's great when you see those public initiatives, because it's not just say there's a playground over here on this side of town. It's about connecting the accessible playground through an accessible pathway, through an accessible bus system to the accessible grocery store or the community, right? It's about seeing that whole and connecting the pieces, and that from the municipalities.
Amazing.
Get them involved. Make the whole process a lot easier. But if they say those wheels of government, they roll very slow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know that, right?
Sticky.
All right. Any last things we haven't touched upon before we let you go?
Did we mention it's an app that you can download for free?
Does it work on
gosh, I didn't.
iPhones?
I just got that.
It works on iPhones. It works on Android.
Okay, good.
It works in America. It works outside of America.
And what's the cost of that?
Oh, it's free. It's free.
Oh, man.
Cool. No excuses, people. It's free.
Yeah.
Do it.
And even if it's, even every download helps. You use the app, maybe you're a super user, maybe you're a really light user, but every download helps us reach our goals, which helps more people who need the information get the information, if that makes sense.
Pay it forward.
Exactly.
Very good. Very good. Thank you, Joe Foster, Rachel Zoller, for coming on. We appreciate it. Roll Mobility.
Thanks for having us.
Ever wish you could tour the world's most enchanting wineries in just 5 minutes? Join Forrest Kelly on the Best 5-Minute Wine Podcast, your passport to quick, captivating journeys through global vineyards. Each week, uncover hidden travel gems, savor expert insights, and collect irresistible wine conversation starters. All in the time it takes to enjoy a glass. Named one of Wealth Magazine's best travel podcasts, it's the perfect pairing for your busy life. Tune in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or visit thebestwinepodcast.com. The Best 5-Minute Wine Podcast. Sip-sized stories, full-bodied flavor.
I'm so happy this app exists. Like, even when I was at my work thing, we went to the Chart House. Amazing food, by the way. But a coworker and I went into the bathroom, and I ended up bringing my walker because I was like, oh my God, there's 11 of us. I don't know how much luggage there's going to be and stuff. But trying to get into the bathroom, it was all artsy fartsy, but the turn to get in the bathroom was like so tight that basically I had to use Lauren instead of my walker to get into the bathroom, even though there was a handicap stall. And I was like, this is very confusing. But I told her about the app and I was like, man, we're going to get the app and we're going to complain about this bathroom.
Yeah.
So we're going to, be able to tell people like, hey, go to the bathroom before you leave your house and or don't, you know what I mean? So that somebody could be aware. Because there's lots of stairs in that restaurant. There's very few options, and the way they have the salad bar is like kind of in the way. So I'm so happy there's this kind of app. And sorry, Chart House, I can't wait to blast you.
So I guess they've been around long enough that they didn't comply to building codes.
Yeah, I don't know. Or I mean, it could have just been, a few drinks in a difficult angle. But, at the same time, we were just talking about, I was telling Lauren about the app and like, how helpful it would be for people to know, like, hey, this is a tight bathroom if you're by yourself. I'm sure there's a way, but it felt like threading the needle, like was so complicated. It's not like, this is a great bathroom.
Yeah.
And obviously interviewing these guys made me much more cognizant about how powerful it is to share the information, right?
We went to lunch after the thing at the pier, and it was interesting. Because I couldn't quite find the entrance because the entrance didn't really speak entrance, so that curb appeal wasn't really there.
Yeah.
So I went right by it actually looking for the way to get in. I thought I thought it was a little like maybe another entrance into the shop or something like they had a merch shop here on the side.
Right.
So I go around the side. I'm like, nope, there's just more stores over here. So I went around the other side. So I figured out that literally 50 plus feet away was the only accessible place to get up on the sidewalk, then to come around and get around the 2 or 3 steps it was to get up to this door I was telling you about. And then you got into the restaurant. So I don't know how I would put that in the app. I mean, you can get in. It's accessible, but you just have to go way over there to get in.
Yeah.
So.
Same. I mean, it's funny how like having that experience of like interviewing them makes you more thoughtful, right? Because going into the facility that like we would go to each day to work. Yes, there's handicap spots, but the ramp is like kind of offset from the curb cut and stuff. And it was interesting because like the first day, the way that the person that was driving the car for us parked versus the second and third day, once we kind of knew how it was a setup, and not to say that I haven't thought of it as much, but like when I wasn't using equipment, I could use my sister's shoulder. I could use, the pole, whatever I could kind of find to like hoist myself up. And I wasn't just as aware of having to look for the curb cut or like, can I lift my walker here? I'm going to eat it face first. Like, I've become much more aware. So knowing that an app like this exists for those that don't have the luxury to sort of transformer it like I do.
And easy to use. I downloaded it and we went to dinner with the dog crowd. And I was in the restaurant and it's got nice drop down menus so you can, does it do this, or this? And you're just like, it does that, doesn't do this. Yeah. So it was good. But it just reminded me too, I got a ticket at the beach.
You got a ticket?
Well, I have to research it because there's what I thought was a law in California, ordinance in California, whatever, statewide, where you can diagonally park across 2 spaces if there's no handicap spot with van access. And I've been doing it, for the last year or 2 and no problem. But down in Long Beach, I guess they don't recognize it. But I don't, so that's where I have to do some research. If the DMV or California has a law that says you can do that with a van. I don't think a city can just ignore it or have their own. I don't think so. I don't know.
Okay, but this is an example of like maybe city ignorance, right? Like quotas times ignorance equals a ticket that can be fought.
Okay, thought the same thing, but there's got to be enough people that have done that and gotten tickets from it that they can't be ignorant anymore. Somebody's got to tell them.
But I'm saying like their ignorance might be feigned because of the quota. Because you might be the guy who just pays the ticket because you don't want to screw with looking it up.
You're talking about specific ignorance of a police officer.
Yes.
that wrote the ticket.
Yes.
But there
Correct.
again. Okay, well, we'll follow up.
Yeah. Well, let me know. I mean, because think of how many tickets like they give in a speeding zone. This is a thing in Atlanta. They will give you a ticket in a speeding zone, like around a school, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it turns out when you pay the ticket, it's a corporation like in Boston. It has nothing to do with Atlanta. It's like a company that owns the camera, and they know that most people are not going to fight it. So they collect the $75.
Yeah.
And if somebody actually does bother to like ask for a court date, then it gets on the court date and whatever. And then, but that's so rare compared to the 10 people who are like, I don't have time for this. Let me put my debit card in real quick and move on.
And that's exactly what I was thinking, is that, I want to fight this, but am I going to come all the way from where I live all the way down to Long Beach?
Yeah.
I'll just have to look at it as another day at the beach.
Exactly. It was a very expensive parking pass.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So I think we talked about the IEDC conference. It is on the events page. There's some other things going on. Too many to mention, and more things coming up. I know that at the Possibilities Mixer, they have a swim day. So if you're in Southern California, they're having a series of those over the course of the summer. So keep an eye on our page or their page and get signed up. I think the next one is, I can't remember exactly, but I think it's sold out. So you have to go, or not sold. It's, you just have to register, but it's full. And so the next one, and there was a couple of people that had been to the one they just had and said it was magnificent.
That's amazing.
People that hadn't been swimming in forever because of, obvious reasons. And it's very accessible. They've got a whole side of the pool that's just great. I mean, you could take your wheelchair and just go into the pool if you want.
Amazing. It's an infinity pool.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
With a slope. It looks like a beach.
Yeah, where it goes like, exactly.
But
the Madonna Inn has one of those.
Very nice. All right, that's all I got. You got anything else?
Man, that's all I got.
Yeah. Have a wonderful week. I'll think of it, after we wrap up. I usually
that's our habit, people. If you knew how much we talked before and after about the stuff we're going to talk about and the stuff that we forgot, you would realize this could be 30
just other crap we talk about, other people and this, that, the other.
Right.
Oh, I know. One other thing that we need to talk about, and that is our article.
Yes, our article.
And Substack. But and don't be afraid, because you can read it. Substack usually is a subscription service.
Subscription?
Yeah. So, but very nice. Yeah. Frank Raciopi, I think is the way he pronounces his name, got a hold of me and had me answer a bunch of questions. And then you can tell from the article that he did a lot of other stuff as well. So
he did some good research.
Yeah.
Thanks for making us feel special. I sent it to some people, and it should be on our page if it isn't already, so you can check it out.
It is. And I'll probably include a link in the email that goes out with the show.
For sure. Then we can put your hearts around it. Put a little stars. Clap for us. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something.
Let us know you like us. You like us.
Let us know you listen.
All right. Next week, we have Walter Escamilla. He is a member of the whole Triumph Foundation team. He's an energetic fellow, so we will get his whole story next week. Good guy. And thanks for listening. I'm your host, Doug Vincent, along with Addie Rich from the Aguiar Professional Training Studio. This has been Walk and Roll Live. Disability Stories. Life Limitless.